Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. What we're going to do today is I'm going to give you a quick overview of Votiro as a company, and then we're going to dive in and do a technical demo of the product, show you how we are able to secure data, both from malware and ransomware, as well as protecting private information. So let's go ahead and get started. As you know, unstructured data is a very hard problem to solve. You have files that come into your organization, they get shared amongst people, they get distributed out, they get sent over email and Teams. So one file ends up becoming multiple copies of a file that ends up all over the organization. Keeping control of the data that is in those files, as well as preventing the sharing of potential malware is a very difficult task, especially unknown malware. Obviously in the world we have lots of signature-based antivirus engines, but the real problems come when you have a new variant or an unknown script or some sort of malware that enters the organization. Across the data platforms these days, we've got file sharing that happens across all sorts of different SaaS applications, third-party applications, very large amounts of areas that you're ingesting data and files are being transacted. And keeping control of these files is very difficult. But Votiro helps in that aspect. We integrate with all sorts of different SaaS applications. We are able to secure those files as they flow through those applications, and also prevent the sharing of sensitive content, things like bank account numbers, social security numbers, any sort of private data that you don't want to be shared across your organization, inside or out. We also have the ability to integrate through APIs. So if you have third-party apps or custom applications, we have a API that allows you to use our engine to secure those files coming in through those avenues as well. So a real quick overview of what we do. So as a file comes into the organization, the very first thing that we do is we run a signature-based virus scan on those files. So all the known variants of malware, those immediately get removed. The next step we do is we true type those files to verify the exact type of file that it is, so that we can then apply policies based on different file types. Obviously Word documents are treated differently from PDFs, things like that. When we do this, we disassemble the file into all of its components. So a single Word document can have 15 or 20 or 30, 50 different types of objects embedded inside of that. We separate all of them out into their own little specific objects, and then we look across those for unknown objects, things that should not be part of that specific file type. We analyze those, we remove anything that should not be in the file. The next step is we run a number of different policies for different scripts, we can remove metadata, we can do a number of other things to the file. And since we've taken these files apart and we know all of the different objects inside that file, we can then scan for the sensitive content inside of those files. So we look for your socials, your bank accounts, things like that. And based on policies that you can define on a user group level, a different file channel, any number of different ways that files tend to move around the organization, you can apply different policies to either just detect and mask out specific types of data. Once we've gone through all of this process, we then reassemble the file without the content that should not be there, the unknown malware, the unknown objects, the data that you don't want to be shared. We reconstruct it, and then we deliver it on to the location where it was going. We do all of this automatically through policies. There's no user interaction necessary. It happens typically in around a second or two, depending on the file type and the size. So it's very quick and it's automated, and there's no need for anybody to be involved in this process. We support well over 200 different file types, including your normal types of files that you typically interact with, your Microsoft documents, Adobe documents. We support zip files and emails. We even support password protected files. So if there's a password protected file flowing through the organization, that is a way that user or bad actors are able to bypass all sorts of malware detection, because that file is encrypted, and that file is not, the data that's inside that file is unknown. So that is the product as a whole in a very high level. So let's jump into the actual demo. All right, let's pull up this setup. So first, I'm going to show you the file that we are going to use as our demo file in this particular case. What I have here is a resume. So this is a potential way that malware or bad actors can get into your organization. They can send files into outside portals. They can email them into your organization, but they can hide unknown content and malware. So in this particular case, I have a zip file that is embedded in this. And this zip file has some scripts that can run or execute code on the machine. At the same time, this file also contains some sensitive content. I have things like social security numbers, phone numbers, etc. So this is the file that we're going to use in this demo, so you can see what happens to this file as we share it. All right, so before the webinar started, I went ahead and sent this file as an email to 2 different users in my organization. In this case, I have an admin user and a support user. And because our policies allow you to define different policies depending on which user or group a file is being sent to, we can apply different data security policies to those files. So in this case, my admin user, they're allowed to see lots and lots of different things. I've chosen that if anything in an email body that has sensitive data, I don't want to show it in that file. So instead of showing the social, it was masked out in this case. The file itself, I'm going to open that up for this user. Admin, I have set the admins are allowed to see the sensitive content inside of files. So that social security number is actually available to be seen in this file. This same email that was sent to the support user, again, I don't want the email bodies to show the sensitive content, and I also don't want my support user to see this sensitive content. So I have been able to remove that sensitive content from this file as it gets transacted between the different users. And obviously I can control it based on the user group or the individual user, and a number of other exceptions that you can create. I'm going to go ahead and open up this file so you can see what happened to the potential malware that was embedded inside of that file. So this opens for me. And you can see the file, that zip that was there. It will have a placeholder that was done in its place to show you that that file is no longer malicious. So let me open this up. Waiting for zip file to open, and you can see there used to be an LNK file here that would launch a script and run some PowerShell commands. In this case, we have placed a template in its place to say that there used to be something here. In this case, it's a customizable PDF that you can deliver to users in the case that a whole file is blocked. If we just remove the script, the user won't know it even happened. That specific malicious script will have been removed, but the rest of the content of the file will be accessible. Any non-malicious scripts will still be usable. The only thing we remove is the malicious data or the unknown objects that are in that file. So let me jump over and show you the console to show you how that looks inside of Votiro. So I'm going to go over to my events. I'm going to see that that email came through right here. View the details, and we can see inside of this email, this is the email that was sent to the user. In this case, this was the admin user. So this one's going to show that in the email body itself, we detected the phone number, email address, etc., and we masked out the social. In the other user, if you clicked on this document, we would see we still detected that information, but we didn't mask it out because this was sent to the admin user and our policy says don't block that. The actual Word document has this hidden information down inside of it, and because this should not be part of this file, and it was a unknown or a suspicious script file, we decided to go ahead and block that out completely. So again, this all happened automatically. The end user didn't even know it happened. It was sent on and no user interaction. And in this case, the file itself, the Word document took 1 second, and the total processing time was 4.3 seconds. Now, if we cover multiple different channels, so we're going to go and I'm going to show you like this same process can happen through email, Teams, OneDrive, etc. So I'm going to go over to my my chat, my Teams chat, and I'm going to share that same file through through Teams chat. Upload it. We'll send that resume over. We will say, here's my resume, and I have shared that. In the background, obviously, Teams uploaded it to a place in your OneDrive. It shared the link to it, and it sent the message over to the other user, and now both users see this exact same file. If I go back to my my events list, I can see that this file came up as being shared right here. I look at the same information. You can see the same process happened. We scanned the document. We removed the unknown content. And because we have policies based on different file channels, specifically in Teams, I don't want socials to be shared through Teams regardless of the user. So this information was blocked. I go back to the actual chat. And if I review this and open it up, we can see that this file was actually masked out and in its location where it was actually saved. So neither user, because this is not a channel that we want this information to be shared through, both of them, the file has been masked out and the socials have been removed from that file. Again, all automatic happens in the background. You have full control over what information can be shared between different users. The rest of the document was delivered, so if this user needed something out of this document, they can continue their workflows. They don't have to call IT and say, please release a file. They get everything that they need except for the sensitive content. Now, I mentioned earlier, we support encrypted files as well, or zip files, password protected files. So I'm going to take a password protected file. In this case, let me find it here, and I'm going to upload this password protected file to my OneDrive. So this file is password protected. Anything that's located in this would fly right past any of your signature-based products or products that do not know how to handle an encrypted file. Right past them, typically in most environments, you have two options with encrypted files. You can either allow them or block them. And then if you block them, it makes it creates trouble for your end users because then they have to wait for IT to check them out and release them. If you just let them through, then you potentially are letting through malware that you don't know. So I'm going to go over to my console, and in this case, I'm going to do a static scan, but we support both dynamic scanning. So if a file is saved into OneDrive and you have added the user or the group of users to the people to be scanned, any files that are saved in there will be automatically scanned. They will be, as they update them, modify them, save them, change them, they will continually to be rescanned as the information changes. That way you can remove sensitive content if this specific user is not allowed to have sensitive content stored in their areas. But for the demo purposes, I'm going to go ahead and go over to my admin user, and I'm going to do a static scan of their specific folder. So we can see the encrypted thing in action as it happens. So that file folder is being scanned. There's one document there. I go back over and I'll do a quick refresh. And that zip file was replaced with a document that is asking the user to provide the password so that we can unlock this file, scan all of the contents of it, remove any malicious data and any sensitive content, and then re-encrypt it and place it right back in the same location where it previously was. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my super secret password. And Votiro in the background has taken that password. It has opened it up. It has scanned all of the contents. It has re-encrypted it and placed it right back in the same location. I go over here. I can see that the file came in. It was blocked initially because we don't want password protected files to be just shared without any regard. But after it was unlocked by the prompt from the end user, we got the full details. We unencrypted, we scanned all of it. And this one, we actually found a suspicious exe inside this and blocked that out. So that's how the process works. It works across all of the different file types we support. It works across numerous channels. You basically define everything you want to do through policies. So we'll go over and we'll show you your policies. We've got a policy for data security. So in regards to how do I want to control my sensitive information? In that email that I sent earlier, I have a default policy that says I want to detect all of these different types of data. So I pick everything I might want to detect, and we will detect that information. We will log what was in there, not the actual content, but what was in there. We will provide reporting on that, and you can run different reports to see what files have been shared and who's sharing it. The next step is I can pick which bits of that sensitive content I actually want to mask out. And then I can pick a confidence level. Since we're using an AI engine to find all of this sensitive content, we have given you the ability to say, I want to detect more potential sensitive data. I'll report on it more. I'll have a little bit extra data. There may be some false positives, but we give you that option to control how sensitive you want the detection to be. If we set it to a high confidence level, it's going to find less data, but it's going to be very highly confident that the data it did find is the information you were looking for. And I can define those through our playbooks here. As you saw in the email, I wanted anything to be email-wise, I want to block it out. But for instance, my admin user, I had a policy that said this admin user, we're going to detect that information, but we're not going to mask it. This could be a user. It could be a group of users. So I could select my support channel, my admin's channel, maybe my HR, and I can control the policies based on the groups. So you can say which people in your organization are allowed to see sensitive content and which people are not. And as the data flows around, we will mask out and remove data or sensitive content that should not be shared. We have same policies for how to control the potential malware. Again, like I said, we do a virus scan on it. We true type it. We have a password protected workflow. But based on the file types, we can also do different actions. For instance, PDFs, we have the ability to say we want to remove all scripts from the file. We can remove suspicious scripts only and leave normal scripts active. So there's a lot of functionality that you can pick, very granular control of how this data is secured from a malware or unknown malware perspective. Since we're gathering all this information and able to give you data on it, dashboards that show you which threats are coming into the organization, which channels they're coming through, which users are being targeted. So in this case, it looks like this Bowen user has received the vast amount of threats. If I click on one of these widgets, it will give me a list of all the files that have been transacted that have potential malicious content in it. I can export this out. I can also pick a number of other filters to bring this down to an even smaller level. Same thing with our threat analytics. We have privacy and compliance. So I can know which users are transacting and sending sensitive content. Knowing where this information is flowing, it's very difficult to know this with your traditional tools. In this case, I know that Mr. Bowen here is sending the vast majority of sensitive content. Maybe that user shouldn't be sending sensitive content, and we need to understand why they are sending this. Is it legitimate? Are they trying to exfiltrate data? Who knows? But in this case, it allows you to understand where the data is flowing, what types of data it is, and where it's going. Anyway, again, like I said, we support this through all these different file channels, and we have APIs available if you want to integrate this in any of your custom applications. Any questions? I think we have a couple of chats here. What do we have here? Okay, so thanks, Marlon. Okay, Kathleen. So, how much maintenance is required once this is in place? The initial setup is primarily you determining which users or groups in the organization are allowed to deal in sensitive data. So typically that's a much smaller set of users. Once you've defined those groups, from then on, as the files are shared, there is no more really additional maintenance outside of if you want to add a new user or update those. So the upfront setup is very light. The installation is very easy. But once everything's set up, you typically rarely ever get into the platform unless you need to do some data gathering, or if in the rare case, maybe once a year type thing, a file gets blocked that you don't want to, you can go in and you can go to that file and actually verify what it is and pull it out. If you want to do some additional analysis of the file, you can download the original version and check it out. Again, maintenance is very low. Doesn't happen very often that you even need to get into the console once you've got the initial policies set up. All right. Anybody else have any questions?
So I don't see any other questions coming through. So we can probably end this one relatively quickly. I know that was a lot of great content, and really appreciate you, Michael, running through this. Everyone, I will be sending out the recording to this session in the next day or so, as well as a self-guided walkthrough of the data security policies and privacy playbooks process that Michael went through for you guys to review at your own pace. You can feel free to respond to that outreach to me directly. I can also include Michael's information in there if you want to ask him any of the more technical questions. But with that being said, I really appreciate everybody joining the call today, and we hope you have a great rest of your weeks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.